picture too?
Oh, I don't have enough left. Today. Thanks, Sharon.
No problem. I had that.
Oh, yeah. So I can still get the chicken and black beans.
Right.
And salsa. And the fajitas.
I want to sit next to you.
Oh, I know.
I'm sure that's what's on the bed.
You what? I want to sit next to you. Oh. Maybe next time.
We're back.
I'll sit here with the good people.
Oh, listen to you.
Sure. No, really? We did put less steak on
Chicken was 180 and steak was 150 or so.
Huh. Must have smoked it.
Oh, I like
You're
that.
referring to yourself.
The corn was really good.
The good people, you
No.
Just trying to figure out if she could get.
Sharon and I are having a diet competition, and so I'm trying to figure out what the calories I've left in the day that I can order. Well, yeah, so I can do the bowl, but I can't do the rice. And the chips is 570 calories a serving. And I know that I knocked down like 3 servings of those chips. No, they're brown rice. Brown rice is 210 calories a serving. But look, I think I can do the steak, black beans, lettuce. I go with chicken. Actually, chicken's 180 and steak's
Yeah, we are.
150. Those chips are 570 calories a serving. I only have 400 left. What? It's going here. Get like 1 square inch of meal.
More or
Actually, I
less.
think maybe goose. Well, it would be.
That is, we've already had that mixed, Jim.
They're bigger.
Oh, my goodness, yeah.
Well cooked.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was that's here. It counts. Hey, a birthday gift is a birthday gift. Thank you much.
The Committee on Rules and Legislative Oversight, now come over, Madam Secretary, please call.
Chair Rhodes, Representative Duggan, Lavender, Condon,
Yes.
Brown, Butler,
Here.
Curtis,
Present.
Eggleston,
Here.
Fitzwater, Carr, Brown,
Here.
Scholl, Shoemaker, Wesley.
The quorum being established, now in executive session. I now move that sentence substitute number 2, consent committee substitute consent bill 43 be voted due pass. Any discussion? Representative Lavender.
Mr. Chair, pursuant to House Rule 74 and 82, I respectfully move that Senate Bill 43 be recommitted to its committee of origin to be fully vetted and cleared of its serious issues that many of us have. 43 should be recommitted to committee. Many of us know that Senator Romine has sponsored this bill while he's in the midst of defending a substantial and disturbing lawsuit against him for employment discrimination. Copies of these allegations have been distributed, and if you haven't received one, I have other copies. The senator's desire to hurry this piece of legislation through this body in order to stymie legal claims against him have prevented the House of Representatives from doing its careful, deliberate work necessary when faced with such an outdated piece of legislation that this would become taking Missouri's discrimination laws back over 60 years. Coming out of the Senate at 3 a.m. several weeks ago, It's no surprise that this piece of legislation is poorly drafted. We in the House have an opportunity to prevent unintended consequences arising from this poor drafting. Under this legislation, as an example, if a teacher molests a student and the parent chooses to sue the teacher under the theory of intentional tort or wrongful act, the parent would also likely sue the school under the negligence theory, as if the school either knew or should have known that the teacher was abusing the child. Based on the broad language in Senate Bill 43, declaring an exclusive remedy clause located on page 12, lines 16, 17, and 18, shall provide the exclusive remedy for any and all claims for injury or damages arising out of an employment relationship. The damages that the parent would be able to claim would only be those spelled out under 43, chapter 213 outlined in this bill. So unlike the current law, the damages for their child being molested is capped upon the employer's size, not the egregiousness of the act. This legislation makes section 197.032 unenforceable. This section of Missouri statute protects doctors, nurses, midwives, and hospitals from being forced to act against their deeply held religious and moral beliefs. Because Senate Bill 43 provides that it is exclusive remedy for employment discrimination, a medical practitioner who was fired for refusing to treat or admit for treatment a woman for an abortion would find it next to impossible to sue their employer for violating their rights to express their religious and moral beliefs and recover damages for infringements on their First Amendment right. Senate Bill 43 does not include this chapter 197 in its umbrella of remedies for employment discrimination. Therefore, any relief under chapter 197 is unavailable to these medical practitioners who wish to express their religious beliefs. Under this legislation, the Department of Corrections employees could be fired for the whistleblowing that they had for the discrimination that we've recently found out is going on at the Department of Corrections. Many of us received information today that Senate Bill 43 puts Missouri out of alignment with the Fair Housing Act. In a letter written to Alyssa Warren, Executive Director of Missouri Commission on Human Rights, James Neely, Director of the Equal Unemployment Opportunity, proposes that the modification in this language, the but-for causation, puts us at that the bill is considerably different than those set forth in Title VII, the Affordable Care Act, and the Civil Rights Act of 1991. Passage of this bill might affect the work share agreement between the Missouri Commission on Human Rights, the EEOC, costing Missourians millions of dollars. So again, I request that this bill be recommitted to the Committee of Origin so that there can be appropriate conversation of amending this bill. With that, I'll take any questions or renew my motion.
The lady's made a motion to recommit the Senate substitutes for Senate Committee Substitute Senate Bill 43 back to committee. Discussion. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, to speak on the motion, Mr. Chair, I agree with the lady. There is a serious issue with this bill that will affect state funding because the bill will put us out of a federal standard. And it's been brought to my attention that we can lose up to $1 million in federal HUD funding and about 2/3 of our human rights staff in the state because we will not be equivalent to the federal law and will risk losing those funds. And there is a way to mitigate those concerns. We can make an amendment, which we can't do in this committee. We can make an amendment in the Committee of Previous Origin and hopefully fix some other negative things about the bill. And I think it is prudent that we make those changes before this bill hits the House floor.
Further discussion.
I find myself in an odd position agreeing with the ranking minority leader on this issue. I think this bill is far from perfect. Even if one supports the concept of what this bill is trying to do, I think there are lots of legitimate concerns that have been raised about the language. I think looking at the loss of such a significant amount of federal funding is an issue. I think looking at The loss of religious liberty is a huge issue for those of us who believe in some of the things that we talked about when we talked about the quote unquote sanctuary city legislation for St. Louis City. Preventing the city of St. Louis from discriminating against people based on their beliefs about abortion. The fact that this, as an unintended consequence, might deprive people of conscience, of the ability to work because of their beliefs regarding abortion is seriously concerning. I think we ought to have people take a look at that language and make sure that's not actually going to happen with this legislation. And so I'm going to recommend and support sending this back to the Committee of Origin. I think we have plenty of time. The Senate's in no hurry to pass a bunch of our bills over there, so I don't see why we should be rushing to pass legislation that's not necessarily perfect right now.
Further discussion? So we're going to roll call this vote. So all those in favor of the lady's motion will vote yes, all opposed vote no. Madam Secretary, call the roll.
Chair Rhodes?
No.
Dugan?
Aye.
Lavender?
Yes.
Fondon?
No.
Brown?
No.
Butler?
Aye.
Curtis? Eggleston?
No.
Fitzwater? Carr?
No.
Brown?
No.
Scholl? Schumake?
Aye.
Russell?
Aye.
The vote is 6-6. You failed to adopt or move the lady's motion. Further discussion on the bill? Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, I know myself and quite a few of my colleagues in the House find this bill highly, not just detrimental to the state, but highly offensive. And I don't know if members have read the defendant's petition of the senator who has filed this bill, but you have to assume that that's part of the spirit of this law and probably part of the impetus of this bill. And when you read some of the claims that this plaintiff has made, it's very, very offensive for an area that I visited quite a few times in Southeast Missouri, to see in plain writing where someone's been treated negatively because of their skin color and not because of their character, and a whole community of a whole neighborhood of folks are treated negatively because of their skin color, and the N-word being used multiple times while someone is trying to earn a living for themselves and improve their community is highly offensive. And it boggles my mind that the quorum of this building will allow a state senator to move a bill that directly affects their business even after these actions have been taken in this business. And we see clearly in a written document that in some cases that same state senator does not doubt those actions that have been taking place at his place of business. It is highly offensive, and I would strongly suggest the body vote against this bill to stop this offensive nature that is viewed by many African Americans, those of faith, of Christian faith, and those who just support being fair to folks and not discriminating against folks all across the state. Show them the right. What we do in the Missouri House is we're going to stay on right and not just on politics. Specifically, I do want to bring it all together, part of the motion we discussed earlier, with a HUD grant with $1 million from the federal government for HUD, and our own Missouri Human Rights staff are specifically made to find out instances and fight back against businesses that discriminate against individuals in this state. And when it comes to housing specifically, the plaintiff's complaint describes a time where a black neighborhood in Southeast Missouri was circled on a map, do not rent, and that African Americans were denied the ability for fair housing. That's something that we thought we were long past, and that we've made plenty of laws in the state for. And we all would hope that this committee would uphold those laws and not put us back to years that we've come so far from. And for those reasons, I would hope this body would join me in seeing how offensive this bill is and vote against it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Further discussion? Ms. Lady?
Mr. Chair, I also find it offensive that we are saying that a lawsuit brought against a member of the Senate who currently introduced a bill is okay. How is this not the ultimate conflict of interest to be sued on an issue and then write legislation that would prevent that from happening to you again? I feel that we've crossed the line, perhaps with term limits, that we don't understand conflict of interest. But if there's not a better example than this of that, I don't know what it would be. And I am also offended in a slightly different way that not just the Senate, but this body is about ready to say, that's okay. And for those reasons, in addition to what the representatives from St. Louis City mentioned, I think it is our duty to vote this bill down from this committee. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
This is not working, but my thank you. I find it a number of things, highly offensive in this bill. But I think the most is one that our ranking member just expressed. This is a surreal thing for me, moment for me. When you have a powerful legislator who has a legal issue, and to influence that legal issue, he introduces legislation, and it gets approved by a Senate committee and by the Senate, and now it's before us. It's surreal because I'm old enough to remember the movies where you'd have a South American banana republic, and you'd have a legislator who got into trouble, and then he pushed through some legislation that took care of the problem. And to have, we're better than this. I mean, we have to be better than this in the House. And I would urge the other members of this committee to vote to send this bill back to the Senate where it belongs.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor vote yes, all opposed vote no. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Chair Rose?
Aye.
Representative Dogan?
No.
Lavender?
No.
Fondon?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Butler?
No.
Curtis?
No.
Eggleston?
Aye.
Fitzwater? Har? Brown? Schultz? Schumake?
Aye.
Wessels?
No.
Please see you want to record their votes
Schultz? And Fitzwater?
We voted with 9 ayes and 5 noes. You voted Senate Committee Substitute number 2 for Senate Committee Substitute Senate Bill 43 to pass. Looks like we'll have a meeting tomorrow upon adjournment. I don't know where, but we'll have it noon. So thank you. We're adjourned.